Well, let's discuss then the importance of this year's theme of generation equality and what that is meant to signify. We're joined by Advocate Mikateko Maluleke, who is the Director General of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability. Good evening. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show tonight. Of course, we meet again and we mark Women's Day again in this year. And unfortunately, the reality is that there has been very little progress when it comes to the various strides being made to ensure that women's life, in particular vulnerable, marginalized women in this country, are having a better life than what they would have had in the past.
Hi, Cathy, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm okay. You know what? I think you need to look at it in two different ways. You need to look at it in two different prongs. Previously, black people and especially women were not allowed in certain institutions and universities and all those. Now you have women who outpass. When I say outpass, I mean women pass in more numbers than males in engineering, science, technology fields. You have women who are pilots, you have women who are, women have achieved in some instances. Yes, I agree that we have a problem of poverty and hunger, as the President has said. But we can't just throw a blanket cover to say we haven't moved. There has been improvement somewhere. However, in other areas, there has not been improvement. And I agree with you that not only do we have a problem of women subjected to poverty, but also they are subjected to hunger. Then the theme talks to that because there are many factors that contribute to that. It's not just government only that has the responsibility to ensure that women are empowered. You have the private sector, and when you look at the purse of government and private sector has a bigger purse, and nobody calls the private sector to come and account. Therefore, the theme, generation equality, means that women now are saying we demand equality, not just from government, but also from the private sector. Because if it is not enforced, if women don't demand it, it will not happen. Hence, we also celebrate 9th August because in 1956, women, under circumstances where if they defied the powers be, they could have been killed. However, they defied those powers. So this is what generation equality means, that women now must stand up and face whoever. Also, it looks at equal sharing of unpaid care work and domestic work. Let me just make an example, Cathy. You know, it's not just government, but I'll give you an example of maintenance. You look at the maintenance act. There are many women who apply for maintenance. Tell me if I've exceeded the time. There are many women who apply for maintenance. When they go to court, the law already discriminates against women because it doesn't take into consideration unpaid care work and domestic work. What the court would look at when they look at how much the spouse must pay for maintenance, they look at how much you earn and how much he earns, and then they apportion according to how much the other earns. They don't take into consideration that most of the time it is women. I'm not saying that not men who live with the children, but it's women mostly. And you find that the woman stays with the children, she has to wash for them, she has to support them emotionally and all those things. Those are not taken into consideration. Now during COVID, most men go to court to apply for the maintenance to be halved or for the maintenance to be cancelled because they don't have employment. The court not taking into consideration that the woman also is unemployed. The court will cancel the maintenance order, so the woman will have to see what she does with the children. So there's no equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work. Also, it looks at health and responsive health. We know that there are lots of challenges in hospitals, more especially when you look at women's health. It looks at equal participation of women in political life. So when you look at equal participation in political life, most of the time we scream when we see 8 male premiers and 1 female premier. That's when we say, there's no equality. But what's the process involved to appointing those people? The process starts from below there. So we are saying women participate from the local government, from all over there, so that you can be able to make meaningful inputs. But also when you look at our constitution, we're not just marking a UN campaign of generation equality. Our constitution, its a founding principle is equality, human rights and dignity. So we're trying to...
And just on the issue of equality, I know that you were briefed prior to this interview about a campaign, the hashtag Change for Her, when it comes to the coat of arms, to be fully representative and have not just 2 males that are there, but have a female and a male. Very briefly, your thoughts on such a campaign?
Yes, I support that campaign. However, some of the things, when we fight, we need to be strategic. We shouldn't just focus on the coat of arms, because yes, tomorrow they can remove 1 male and put a female, but that will be formal equality. It's not going to change the lives of women. What would change the lives of women is the campaigners to go for Section 34. Section 34, the right of access to justice. It is because of that section that protects the rights of perpetrators. Most of the cases are thrown out of court because of that section. Also, when you look at Section 37, which looks at non-derogable sections, it says all the other rights cannot be violated, but the rights of gender people can be discriminated on the basis of gender. So when we look at amending the constitution, because in order for us to be able to amend the coat of arms, the coat of arms, the constitution has to be amended. So we need to look at it holistically to say what other sections in the constitution that we want to amend, so that we ensure that women benefit from the constitution.
Advocate Maluleke, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I'll need to leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, giving us your contribution.